Hello everybody, this is Jyotsna Ramachandran here, your author coach, and today I'm super excited to do this Facebook Live for our community because for the very first time I'm going to be interviewing one of my clients on a live platform. So I'm super excited about that, and this is going to be a regular feature. So every once in a while I'll be bringing in a super successful client who has taken their book to grow their business, and this is going to be called Author Success Stories. So this is like the first edition of Author Success Stories. So today we have a very special guest. His name is Dr. Manfred. Many of you would have been familiar, maybe hearing his name for the second or third time, because I keep repeating his story inside all of my webinars. So he is a fitness expert. He is the founder of a company called fourlegfitness.com. That's his online portal where he does a lot of amazing things related to fitness. He's also the best-selling author of this book called From Healthy to Athletic, which I had the good fortune of publishing a year and a half ago through Happy Self Publishing. So every once in a while we were in touch with Manfred, just seeing what he's been doing. And recently I thought that, he said actually he came forward and sent us a blog post writing about his journey of him growing his businesses using his book, and that helping him to go towards financial freedom. And that was really inspiring. So I thought we should not just stop with the blog post, but we should also bring him on inside our community and make him speak to all our aspiring authors, because I'm sure you guys will have a lot of fantastic takeaways from this session. Please give me a thumbs up, guys, if you're able to see me and hear me perfectly. And in just a second, I'll be bringing in Manfred. Yes. All right. So now we have Manfred. Hey, man, how are you doing?
Hello. Hi. Thank you very much. Thanks for the introduction as well, Jyotsna. It's great to be here. Thank you very much. It's actually I didn't know it's the first time, so it's an honor for me to be your first guest in this show, and I'm very happy to be here, share my experiences, and maybe there's the one or the other tip that I can share with your aspiring authors.
Thank you so much, Manfred. It's my honor to have you, because I realized that rather than me just going on and on about what should authors do and what should they not do, it's even more empowering and inspiring to bring in people who are walking the talk like you, right? So when I heard about your successes in the last few weeks, I thought this is the best opportunity to bring you on. So tell me, Manfred, how did it all begin? Right from your young age, were you interested in fitness, or is it something that just happened along the way?
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So fitness and sports was always a passion for me. Right from young age on, I was playing tennis, basketball, football. I'm from Austria, so we have a lot of mountains. Of course, I did a lot of mountaineering, skiing in the winter. So it was always a passion of mine. I actually then made a career in IT. So I am right now in software sales. I'm at sales strategy for an IT company. Mm-hmm. But fitness is always and has always been my passion, and I always had it on the side. And then at some point, I just decided to move more and more into fitness and basically make my passion to my job.
Fantastic. So do you also currently have your IT job? That's your job, and you also are focusing on your passion, right?
That's right, yeah. So I still have a day job, which is in sales strategy. And then on the side, I'm running my business. And I'm gradually moving over from my sales job into my fitness job.
Wow, that's really inspiring, because I see a lot of authors in our community, they have a full-time job and they feel that it's required that they have to quit that full-time job and then start working on their pet project or their side hustle. But you've been doing it slightly differently. So when was the first time you kind of started something related to fitness? So were you working in a gym, or did you start your own setup?
Well, basically, I was always a consumer of fitness for many years. But I was just very interested in the various different aspects of fitness, because fitness is not just about exercising. It's a lot broader. So if you really want to achieve results, it's not just about exercising. There are other aspects which are very important. So I started to read a lot about it, research a lot about it. I did a lot of experiments with myself. Mm-hmm. So I basically figured out the things that work and the things that don't work, which to some degree is also quite individual, but there are always some principles which you can derive from that. And then I thought, okay, if all this stuff is useful for me, this may also be useful for others. And then I decided to write all this up and publish it as a book.
Great, great. That's great. So before we get into the book, Manfred, you were also coaching people one-on-one before the book came about, right?
Yes, but that was not as a business. That was more as a hobby or
Hobby.
helping out friends.
Okay, okay. So the real business angle to this whole thing happened when you started thinking about the book.
Yeah, that's right. So I created this model, which is the foundation of all the services and products that I'm now offering. We'll talk about this in a second, I guess. It's called the four legs of fitness. That's the underlying model.
Right.
And everything that all my business, everything that I do as part of my business is building on top of that foundation. Because in order to achieve results and to become fitter and more healthy, you need to make sure that these aspects are all covered. And that's what I offer as part of fourlegsfitness.com.
Fantastic. Could you go and elaborate a little bit more about the four-leg fitness model?
Yeah, exactly. So in principle, I mean, fitness is a quite complex subject. It's about our bodies, and our bodies are very complex. But if you break it down, if you want to make it simple, there are four key areas which are important for fitness and health. The first one is to gain strength or to work on your strength. The second one is to work on endurance or cardio. The third one, it's another very critical one, is to get the right nutrition. And the fourth one, which is something that people often overlook, is recovery. So you also need to give your body time to recover, rest and relax, get enough sleep. It's super important to actually achieve those benefits that you want to achieve from fitness. And these are the four areas, and that's why I call it the four legs of fitness, because it's like you can compare it to a chair with its four legs, and if one of those legs is not there, or is unbalanced, or is too short or too long, the whole chair in a way gets unstable or useless, right? And it's the same with our fitness. So all these four areas, all these four legs need to be balanced according to what your objectives are.
Right. What I really like about this, Manfred, is a lot of people have the knowledge, they have the expertise in whatever is their passion, whether it's gardening or parenting or marketing or whatever. But when it comes to explaining it to some others who really need their help, that's where they get stuck, because they don't know how to put it into a model, how to put it into a framework. And when a lot of our authors send me their manuscript, that is the missing link that I find, because their book has, I mean, it covers a lot of great ideas and experiences, but for a reader, when you have to tell them that these are your four takeaways, that's where, they miss out. But when you started writing the book, you had that clarity that I need to put it into a framework. I think this is one thing which I have to really, tell my students as well, that it's not enough if you just share your experience as a book, but you need to kind of come up with your own unique formula. And I think in your case, it has worked out really well. So how did you actually come up with these 4 steps? And also, how did you decide that you need to give this to the world in the form of a book? Because you could have started a YouTube channel, you could have just done some stuff on Instagram, but you chose to write a book. So how did that idea come about?
Okay, it's a great question. So first of all, I think the 4 areas or the 4 legs, this is simply based on my experience and based on years of reading and researching. I'm happy. I follow loads of different research articles or blogs and forums where I just consume all the information. And then for me, it was important to kind of structure all this information. And out of that, the 4 legs of fitness were born. And then I think the other thing that you mentioned is super critical. And this is exactly where the book helps a lot, to actually think all this through in a way that other people can also understand and profit from it. Because it's fine if I understand it, and I probably don't have to explicitly formulate it for myself. But if someone else is the consumer of such a model, it needs to be laid out in a very clear way. And this is exactly where a book helps. Because you really have to think things through, discuss it with other people. Does that make sense? Do you understand this? Should I change things? Get feedback from others. And then at the end of the day, package all of this up in a book. So this is really, I would say, one of the added benefits or added values that you gain from publishing a book.
Absolutely right. And when you put it in the form of a book, I mean, you actually leverage your knowledge, right? Because you've done it once, and then for the rest of your life, and even beyond that, people can benefit from your book. So I think
Yeah,
that's a great
absolutely.
decision that you've taken. But when you started out putting this book together, were you really confident? Were you, I mean, naturally a writer? Have you done a lot of writing before, or was it for the first time that you're writing something so elaborate?
Um, I have written another book before, yes, but that was in a completely different area. That was in IT.
Okay.
So it was a completely different domain. However, of course, there are some transferable principles. Like you need to have a clear structure in mind. You need to do your research. You need to make sure that you use good sources. I mean, nowadays you can find everything on the internet, but you need to make sure that the sources you use are actually good sources. So there are some principles. Discipline is another one. Discipline is another quite important one. But there are some principles which are the same regardless of the topic or the domain. In terms of fitness, I did write articles and blog posts before, but never a fitness book. So the fitness book itself, in its long form, that was the first one. Yes.
Right. So, what was different between writing lots of blog posts and then writing a book? Though both are, though both of them involve your writing skills, but still there is a subtle difference, right? So, in your experience, what was the difference?
I would say the main difference is simply the length, of course, but then also, especially in my particular case, I think I have a broader audience that I'm addressing. With articles, it's typically, or it was typically, in my case, quite niche. So it was a small audience that I was addressing, and also the outreach that I had was limited. Now with a book, I have a lot more heterogeneous audience. So it's people who are athletes, people who are beginners, people from all over the world, people who have different interests. I mean, I was talking about the four legs, but it may well be that people have a slightly more interest in nutrition or a slightly more interest in strength training. So all of these different personas I need to address. And then, of course, I published my book with your help on Amazon, which is a worldwide mega popular platform that gave me a total different reach and exposure. So that's definitely a massive difference between a book and just an article.
Absolutely, yeah. The reach is huge, right? So when you were
Yeah.
writing your book, Manfred, you said about the different reader personas, right? So this is something many people don't get it because when I ask them who's your book for, they say it's for everyone. But when you
Mhm.
write for everyone, you really are not laser focused on who should your book be helping and how should the book help you in return, right? After you publish your
Yeah.
book, what should it do for you? So did you have that clarity as to what else can this book do other than just helping people?
hmm Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, a book is almost like a product, or it is actually a product in a sense, and it's the same with product management, right? A product is only successful when you actually know who your buyers are, and you create the product for your buyers.
Right.
And I think that's very similar to books. You also need to know who your audiences are and how to target them, where they are, how old they are, what are their preferences, what style of reading do they prefer, the style of language. So all these things you need to figure out. But also one important thing also is you probably don't know this right from the beginning. This would be in an ideal world, and it never happens. You don't have all the answers at the beginning. That's why you actually probably do a couple of iterations. At least that's what happened in my case, because you don't have all the answers at the beginning. You have an idea, and then you start writing, and then you figure out, okay, maybe some of my assumptions were not quite right, and then you get feedback from others, and then you keep on improving. So this ideal world scenario where you have all the answers up front, it doesn't exist. But that's
Yeah.
fine. That's fine. I mean, just take your time and be aware of that you won't get it right from the start, and just iterate and improve as you go.
That's so true. Like you can't be super clear about everything and what else can the book do for you when you start out, right? Only after it gets
Yeah.
published, a lot of miracles start happening, which you would have
Yeah.
never anticipated before the book actually got published, right?
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about the publishing process, Manfred. You chose to
Hmm.
self-publish your book, and you decided to work with us. So how was
Hmm.
that like? What were the things that went on for you? Was it easy? Was it difficult? I would love to know that from you.
Yeah, sure. So at the beginning, I actually was convinced I wanted to do everything myself. The whole process, I wanted to do everything myself. But then quite soon, I figured out that I need help from someone who is an expert. Because I mean, I'm the expert with my fitness model. I know my fitness model very well. I know how to describe it, but I'm not the expert about how to create a strong, compelling title, how to create a strong, compelling cover, where, and when to launch the book, what are the best platforms, what is the best pricing, which campaigns should I run when. So all these processes which are around publishing a book, which is quite complex, I'm not the expert. So in my opinion, I very quickly figured out that since I'm not the expert, I just get someone to help me. That's how we met basically, and then you helped me, and you did all the expert parts around publishing. And I'm also convinced that if it wouldn't have worked with you, first of all, my cover wouldn't look as good as it look right now. You should have seen my first covers, which I created myself. They were embarrassingly ugly. So the one that you created for me was much better. And then also the whole publishing process. I mean, my book at the end of the day became a international fitness bestseller, which I still benefit from that today. And I'm sure if I would have done it myself, I would have never achieved that status. So my recommendation is focus on the stuff you're good at. For me, that was writing my content, and all the other stuff, give it to someone who's an expert.
I think this is the such a golden piece of advice that you've given to authors, because when authors understand the advantage of self-publishing, but they make this mistake thinking that self-publishing means they have to do everything themselves. And
Mm.
an author need not be a good designer. An author need not be a good editor. So I think it's what you did was like really wise, that you just did all the things that you are really good at and you outsource the rest. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Also, you actually, I mean, of course, it costs a bit of money. That's true, but you win a lot of time. At the time you win, you can use for that stuff you're good at, writing. So I know two things would have happened if it wouldn't have worked with you. First, I would not have achieved the success that I had, and second, it would have taken much longer. So I think it's just a lot more effective doing it this way.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for telling that, Manfred. So,
Sure.
while you were writing the book, I also remember that your website was already up and running, right?
Mhm.
So, initially, when you had the book out there, was there a way for your readers to go visit your website and check out what you were offering, so that your readers can be converted to your customers?
Yeah, so I did indeed do both things in parallel. So I created my business and the book, because I mean the foundation of both is my model, is my four legs of fitness model. This is the foundation. This is the core of everything I do. And then I thought, okay, I have the model in my head anyway, so I can go and run with both things in parallel. I can run my business, I can run my website, and I can at the same time publish the book. So both things were going on in parallel. But then it really actually started once the book was published, because there are a couple of benefits of a book. The first one is, of course, you make some revenue, which in my case is not a lot because I'm actually selling my book very cheaply. But that's on purpose because that's my strategy. My goal is not to generate a lot of revenue from book sales, but actually using the book as a marketing channel.
Right.
Because people find the book, they like it, they find it interesting, and then at some point they come to my website, and at some point, hopefully, I can convert them to customers of my business. So it's actually this using a book as a marketing channel. I mean, it always depends on what you want to achieve, but for my particular business and for my objective, this was extremely effective. It was way more effective than the direct book sales. So these are two main benefits of the book, and I would say the third one is actually credibility. I mean, if you can claim publicly and officially that you are the author of a best-selling book, which is true, obviously, then you just gain a lot more credibility, and people listen to you in a different way. Your opinion, what you say and what you show, has a lot more weight when you can back it up by a book, which was a bestseller.
Yeah. So you are the same guy before the book and after the book, but the way people look at you completely changes, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I really liked the way you described your the business part of it as to how the book is helping the business. So a lot of
Mhm.
authors don't understand this clearly. What they think is, oh, I should already be running a super successful business, and only then I can qualify myself to write a book. Whereas in your
Mhm.
case, you started the business and you published the book at around the same time. So they were
Mhm.
kind of complementing each other. And inside my academy, I like to call this an author funnel because people first
Mhm.
discover you through your book, and then they go around and learn more about you through some free resources and tools and tips that you give, and then they win. Once you win their trust, then you offer something which is at a lower price point, and then you offer something that is at a higher or a more premium kind of a value. So today when I saw your website, I think after a year, I realized that you have so much more to offer than what you started off with. So right now you have your fitness programs, you have merchandise like apparels and t-shirts and stuff. You have
Mhm.
health supplements, and you have seminars. So it's like an entire ecosystem that you've built around yourself, which is fantastic. So could you tell a
Yeah.
little bit about that, Manfred? Which was the first product you created, and then how did you decide to like expand your product range?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so first of all, you're absolutely right. You don't have to wait for one or the other. You can absolutely run those two things in parallel. And I think there are actually some or a lot of beneficial side effects. So the one influences the other quite nicely. So as you said, I was running my business while I was writing the book, and while I was running a business, I learned a lot which you can use for the book, and vice versa. So those two things actually complement each other perfectly. So you don't have to wait for the one to be finished to start the other. So both can go hand in hand. And then yes, so my business grew since you spoke the last time. I have a lot more products now. Everything is always based on my model, so I totally stay true to my four legs of fitness. This is the solid foundation of everything. But then on top of it, I have sort of three main revenue streams or product groups, so to speak. The first one is the most successful. These are my fitness programs. I have one at the moment that's called QuarantineFit.Life. It's basically a fitness program that helps people while locked away.
Work out from
um,
home, yeah.
exactly, yeah. So you get like videos, workout programs for home. You get nutrition tips, recovery tips every day. So it basically helps people to stay fit and healthy, even though they have to stay at home. That's one product group. The second product group is, as you said, merchandising and supplements. These are all things I'm convinced myself. So I always test the things that I sell, and I'm actually using all of them myself. These are store sales,
So
and
are
then the
these
third,
affiliate products? You don't manufacture them on your own, right?
these are with partners. Yes, I have partnerships
Mm-hmm.
where I work with partners. I don't produce them myself, no,
Great.
but I work very closely with those partners and um, sell those products.
Sure.
And as I said, I've tested a lot of them. I mean, there are so many supplementation companies on the market. Some better than others, some more honest than others. And for me, it's always very important that the partner who I work with is someone who really has top products, which are very clean, very pure, and effective. And only those I sell in my store, nothing else.
Right, great. And
So this is the second revenue stream or group, product group, and the third one then are seminars. So it's offline seminars, in-person seminars, typically also with partners together, where I try to combine my general fitness model with something more specific. So, for example, what I did in the past was climbing seminars or climbing camps. One in Greece and the other one I'm planning now in Spain, where I work with a partner who is the climbing expert. So they are doing the climbing part of the seminar, and I'm doing the basics of fitness, which again is strength, endurance, nutrition, and recovery.
nice. So what I learned from you, which is like I think can be a great takeaway for a lot of viewers here, is that you don't have to do everything yourself.
Mm.
In the sense, for your products, you have partnered with other people who are manufacturing them, but you really believe in those, you've tried them, and that's why you're endorsing them and people are buying from you. So that's a
Yeah.
great way. And another thing is your programs, right? So you're collaborating with other people in the industry rather than looking at them as competition. You're actually collaborating, and that's why you like grow together. So that's really cool. And another thing, I just realized that you live in Spain, right? In Barcelona or which other,
Yes, in Barcelona. That's
right?
correct.
So it's like one of the worst hit in this pandemic. But instead of shutting yourself up and not doing anything, you've created an entire new product for the quarantine market. I think that is also commendable, right? So it's all in the mindset, is what I think, Manfred.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, you can stay at home and complain and be sad about yourself, or you just open your eyes and see if there are opportunities out there. And a lot of people were looking for these programs they can do at home, for example. Um, Try to stay healthy, try to stay fit, try to stay happy at the end of the day. And why not try and help them? And that's why I came up with this program.
Absolutely. And I think this kind of mindset comes from thinking that how can I help my readers? How can I help my customers? Putting yourself in their shoes and thinking at this point of time, what do they need? And using your skills to put it together and offer them. I think that's what is really working well for you.
Mm. Yeah, exactly.
Great. So a couple of other things I wanted to ask you, Manfred. One is, let me think. Yeah. In the recent blog post that you shared with me, you said you're well on your way towards financial freedom in the next couple of years. So
Mhm.
this term financial freedom has a lot of confusion around it because people don't get that term properly. So what was your definition of financial freedom, and how are you tracking it, and how are you putting yourself on the right track?
Yes. Yeah. So this is a big topic, of course. Financial freedom basically for me means that I don't have to work for someone else, but I can entirely work for myself. In other words, not trading my time and my energy for money. So this is exactly what I want to avoid. And this is actually this idea around financial freedom is a quite interesting and growing movement, I would say, globally. And I'm on that way too. So I've started with this about 2 years ago. And if everything goes according to plan, I should achieve my financial freedom in about 2 years. And that means a couple of things. So on the one hand, of course, you're trying to reduce and have your expenses in check.
Right.
Um, don't buy things you don't need. Don't get huge loans, or if you have to, then try to pay them back as quickly as possible. And on the other side of the equation, you have your income, and that's ideally passive income. And one element of passive income is, for example, a book, because of course you need to write and publish the book. That means work, but once this is done, you just create revenue passively without the need to do anything, or a little bit, maybe do a bit of marketing, but that's it, and then you generate income. And that's this whole idea of being financially free, which is, by the way I see it, it's one aspect of freedom. There are other aspects of freedom, but being free is super important, and is a key part of happiness, I would say.
Yeah, it's such a blessing when you are not forced to do something and it becomes your choice, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you spoke about the income part and the expenses. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's important to spend wisely, and with the extra income that you're generating through your businesses and other things. So are you consciously investing in your business so that your passive income grows, and then maybe in a couple of years you will have that freedom to quit your job if you want to. Am I right?
Yeah, that's exactly the idea. So everything I make through Forex Fitness, book sales, or any other investments I do, I instantly reinvest. And I track this quite carefully, like several times a week. I track this, so to make sure that my projections are right. And as I said, if everything goes according to this plan, with a bit of leeway, then I should be financially free in about 2 years.
Awesome. I'm all the very best, Manfred. I can already see that you're on the right path to achieving financial freedom, and I'm really proud of whatever you've created for yourself here.
Thank you.
Finally, what would be your okay? First of all, what is your future plan? Because I know you're coming up with your second book. So what is that about?
Mhm. Yeah, so the second book is an idea at the moment. So it's a rough concept I have in my mind, and I want to flesh out some more details for the concept, and then we'll probably speak again. But the main idea is, so first I wrote this book about the four legs of fitness, which is already quite broad, but it's mainly related to fitness and health. And I think the second book I want to write is an extension of this one, which goes broader. So it goes more in a more holistic life concept, which is not just about fitness and health, but more about values, general happiness. So being healthy, being free are two very important values in that. How to achieve it, how to constantly have this growth mindset, be open, be positive, treat others with respect. So these kind of values, I'm trying to come up with a new model which goes beyond the four legs of fitness, and should help people to achieve their dreams and be happy.
That's really good. And what I again take away from this is a lot of my clients they say that they come up with a very general book as their first book. They say
Mm.
that Tony Robbins speaks about relationship, money, health, so I will speak about everything as well. But
Mm.
in your case, your first book was super specific about fitness and things related to that. And now
Yeah.
that you've started getting success out of it, and now for your second book, you're in a position to broaden it now, right? So I think should be an important lesson for all first-time authors, because it's you won't get the kind of traction you want if your book is too much of a general topic as a first book. But I think as you build your business, as you get more and more successful, then you can afford to come up with a broader topic. So that's what I would think is what you are doing, Manfred.
Yeah, and you cannot underestimate the learning effect. So once you write your first book, you just learn so much from it. You gain so much experience, and there are so many principles you learn from writing your first book, which are transferable to a second, third, and fourth book. So this is definitely very interesting, and you don't have to figure out everything right from the start, but just go out and do stuff. And once you start doing stuff, you just learn and grow with it.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, it's a great learning experience and gives you
Mm.
such a lot of fulfillment, right, when you hold that first copy of your book in your hand.
Totally, yes.
Right. So, what would
Totally.
be your final words of wisdom to all the people who will be watching this interview? Most of them will be aspiring authors or authors who are a bit confused on how can they really use their book to grow their business. So, what would be your advice to all these people?
Okay, so I think probably three things. The first one is be clear about what you actually want to achieve. So what is your objective? There can be many different things, many different goals you want to achieve by writing a book. For me, it was mainly, as I say, to support my business. That was the main idea. Because then, based on that, you don't necessarily change the content, but you change the strategy of releasing and pricing the book. So that's number one. Be clear what you want to achieve. I think number two is work with experts. You don't have to figure out everything yourself, and you're probably not an expert in everything yourself. So it's always way more effective to work with someone who is an expert in whatever area you need someone. Like in this case, it's publishing a book, doing creative work, doing the layout, doing the diagrams, proofreading, these kind of things. I would recommend to work with an expert, to outsource basically. And I would say the third advice I would like to share is don't worry too much. Just start. Just go out and do stuff. You don't need to plan everything in detail ahead. You don't need to know all the answers ahead. I would just say, if you like something, just go and do it, and you will learn so much by just being active and doing stuff rather than just thinking about things all the time. So just go out and do it.
Wow, very well said, Manfred. And these three pieces of advice, I think it's applicable to everybody. And because you're telling it from your own authentic experience, it's so much real and so practical. So thank you so much for
Yeah.
coming on this show and spending your time and just helping out so many aspiring authors. I'm so happy that we could have this call today. Thank you so much.
Sure, cool. I totally enjoyed that. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thanks.
Thanks, Manfred, and I will see you again when you're ready with your next book.
Exactly. Yes, you bet. All right. Thank you
All
very
right,
much. Thanks,
Manfred.
everyone.
Take care. Bye bye. See ya.
Ciao. Bye bye.
So that was Manfred, guys. I think you all would have enjoyed listening to this conversation. I will also be reposting this in other places so that you can, go back and watch this interview a couple of times more to really get the essence out of whatever Manfred had to share about his journey of taking his, a hobby and converting it into a business and using a book to do all of this. I think that is the, fantastic part of this. He didn't wait to become the number one expert. He didn't wait to get a PhD in that subject or for any publisher to tell him that he's good. He just believed that this is a message that he had to share, and he created a model, called the 4 legs of fitness, and he used that model inside his book, and that was the foundation of his business. And as the book got published and it became a bestseller, and by the way, he didn't do all of it himself. He trusted experts. He worked with Happy Self Publishing, got it done, became a bestseller, and then slowly but progressively he started building one product after the other, and now he's well on his way towards financial freedom. So it is really inspiring, and I'm so honored to be in a place where I get to meet these kind of inspiring people and take their message and share it with you all. So thank you so much, guys, for all of you who watched this live, and to all of you who will be watching the recording. So I'll see you all next week again on Thursday with yet another topic or yet another expert. Thank you so much. Bye bye.